Alrighty, we got a personal favorite lineup breakdown with the Mountain Hawks in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania in Lehigh University. Lehigh is an interesting team for sure, one of the smallest we've covered on the channel, but definitely not bad by any means. They always have sleeper roster talent, and it seems like midway through the season, someone on their team gets a massive upset, which is a test to how they develop their young athletes, continue to recruit well despite of their size, and constantly are growing their All-American legacy. In the modern era, Lehigh continues to get All-American and national champions, but how are the Hawks going to look this next season? Well, that is where Lehigh becomes really fun. For a small team, they have almost 2 potential national qualifier starters or All-American level guys at every weight. It is so deep that for some weights, it is difficult to guess who might start over someone else, but that is all about the fun of the way too early lineup looks and speculations. So let's just stop talking about it and dive into this lineup. But actually first, hey everyone, my name is Tanner and welcome to TrueTan Wrestling. Like I said before, I'm a huge Lehigh fan being right from that area, so if you are a fan, be sure to subscribe or check out the Darian Cruz interview or the breakdown I did of the time Lehigh upset Cornell last season. However, if you never end up doing any of that, no hard feelings, but if you love this video, be sure to hit that like button and leave your thoughts on Lehigh in the comments section below. Now that is enough chit chat for me in the intro, let's talk about Lehigh wrestling for real. Lehigh finished last season with an All-American at heavyweight in Jordan Wood, and he was a sniff away from making the national finals, but still becoming a 2-time All-American is pretty dang good, and he was a 5-time EIWA champ, which might never be done again. Overall, Lehigh had a ton of young talent all throughout their lineup, along with some studs. Those studs are led by the legendary Pit Panther Pat Santoro, who seems to keep guys at home, along with developing some promising young wrestlers into great wrestling studs. Luckily for the Lehigh staff, they have somewhat of a young team with almost everyone back that made them so successful, and the best place to start to describe that is 125, where we already have to start speculating on who the starter will be. For starters, this weight could be between 2 guys, either Sheldon Seymour, who was the EIWA guy last year, or senior and national qualifier / round of 16 guy Jared Lane, who was the guy for most of the year last season. Lane wrestled till the beginning of February, but after that I believe he suffered an injury, and that led to the start of Seymour. Seymour was in redshirt, so more than likely he'll be put back in redshirt this season until Lane's eligibility is over this season. Seymour is not a bad option though, based off some of his great performances last year, like a win over Gage Curry of Pitt and Shaver of Rutgers. He of course had some questionable losses like all redshirts do, and he doesn't have the top game of Lane, so I say Lane for now and then Seymour in 2024. 133 gets even more interesting simply because of the COVID year. Brandon Paetzel, a national qualifier at 125, might be an option at 133 if he decides to use his last year of eligibility. He only wrestled 1 match in 2021 and none in 2022, which is concerning, but if he does stay, it would be a great fit for them. I don't really know if he will return, and maybe last year he just took the year off to come into this year swinging. However, if he does not return, the Mountain Hawks are awfully lucky to have an extra deep weight class here. They have Carter Bailey, who had a few solid wins during his redshirt year, but also some down performances, but that is normal for true freshmen during redshirt. Then of course there was my assumed starter for the 2023 season in a very talented Malik Hines, who is a 2-time national qualifier and an EIWA champ in 2021. I believe he was battling some injury last year, so I hope he stays healthy this upcoming season because he is super fun to watch when he is. At 141, we could also see Paetzel here since he did wrestle up here as well in 2021, but I would argue 133 would fit him a little better from a size perspective. The starter last year was Connor McGonigal, the New Hampshire star, who is a 2-time national qualifier with several quality wins throughout his career. He still has 2 more years of eligibility and plenty of room to improve in my opinion. Other options here are very young Drew Munch, who got some starts and wrestled at some opens throughout last season, and he's a possible guy of interest to mention. They're also getting 2 top-tier recruits here that might be in redshirt and top 20 PA multiple-time state champ Ryan Crookham, who could be a direct impact guy, along with top 100 Kelvin Griffin, who is coming in at 141 or 149. To be honest, I think both these guys will redshirt, but I think in their long careers they are going to make huge impacts. With that said though, let's move right along to 149. At this weight, we once again have an interesting roster battle that will only develop with time over the year. This is a weight I could see coming down to a wrestle-off or who beats the best guys throughout the season, so expect to see either one of these guys from week to week. The first guy to mention is another breakout freshman and end-of-the-year starter in Max Brignola. He had a super strong redshirt season before his shirt got pulled, and he became an EIWA starter. He would qualify for the national tournament and wrestle two super elite guys tough, but still finished 0-2. He is still just a sophomore, so I am really excited to see how he develops this offseason. The other 149 option is also a sophomore, now in Manzona Bryant, who had a lot of up and down moments but beat two national qualifiers in Barlett and Murin, both Big Ten guys from Penn State and Iowa, of course. I'm assuming he got hurt, which resulted in Brignola being the guy last season. Brignola could be back in the redshirt, but I would be curious to see these two battle it out for the 149 spot, because this weight could really be interesting for Lehigh and an impact weight for them. The next weight I am not totally sure about is 157. The normal starter has been two-time round of 12 guy Josh Humphreys. He will be on his 5th year of college wrestling and his last year of eligibility. Not as stretched out as Paetzel, but Humphreys did sit out the 2021 year, so I'm assuming he used that year as a redshirt and he will be returning for his last possible year. I hope he does come back, and honestly I think Lehigh really needs him because he has been a pretty pivotal part of the Lehigh lineup during his time there, along with him not being All-American, so I really want to see him reach that podium because he has beaten All-American, national qualifier, and challenged several of those guys throughout the entire regular season in his tenure at Lehigh. However, if he does not return, similar to most weights in this squad, they have another national qualifier in the wing in Luca Frinzi, who had a very semi-productive season last year, even though he was just the backup behind Humphreys. 165 is upset kid himself, Brian Meyer, a two-time All-American for the Mountain Hawks, entering his junior season, but this will be his 5th year of eligibility. And to be fair, you never really know how Meyer is going to do when he steps out on the mat. To his highest credit though, he has been several national qualifiers and former All-Americans this past season, but after having a shaky EIWAs, it was in question if he would even qualify for the big show. Considering he did beat several top tier guys combined with some down performances, he would slide into the tournament once again. I think after a season like this, he will really grow and maybe have some more consistent performances, but never count this guy out in the 165 field. Now, if you thought Meyer was the last thing to talk about at 165, well, clearly you're not getting a theme because they have a few more options that will be fighting for a spot here. There's Connor Herzig, who was battling with Meyer to get the spot last year, but finished the season 9-9. He is for sure an option, so maybe with some upgrades, he could be more in the conversation. Another really possible option is now redshirt freshman and PA State champ Thane Lawson, who had a 16-5 redshirt season, along with being Herzig at the Franklin and Marshall Open. Lawrence is young and took some bad losses, but I think he can compete for the spot. However, like I said, never count out Meyer. 174 is probably one of Lehigh's smaller weights to break the theme of this video. The starter for now should be Jake Logan, who was a national qualifier in 2021. He finished last year 13-13, but did not make the national tournament. He did have a win over Chris Foca of Cornell last season, and he was in most matches with top tier opponents. I think a combination of being a national qualifier in 2021 and the longer season in 2022 might help for his development this offseason, because he could be a critical part for big duels for them. Then the only other possible option is Enzo Moralesi, who is a PA placer along with placing 7th at Powerade, so more than likely going to redshirt, possibly a guy for the future, which is key to note that Logan is only a sophomore, so he has a lot of time to develop for Lehigh as well. And just like that, we are finally into the transfer discussion. A few days ago, I made that video where I was grading teams active in the transfer portal, so go check that out if you haven't already. But I graded Lehigh as an A, considering they gained Michael Beard, an All-American from Penn State, at 197, along with losing no one to the portal. However, days after that video, of course, they gained another huge national qualifier level transfer in Tate Samuelson, who will probably slide right in at 184 for them. Seriously though, I might have gave Lehigh the top student award in that transfer portal video just based off of these two transfers alone and not losing anyone. Tate Samuelson is a 4-time national qualifier with several quality wins all over his long career. He was looking for a new home for a while now in the portal, and he finally landed at Lehigh, which is a solid get for them. Their guy last year was AJ Burkhart, who was a national qualifier last season, and even though he had a 14-5 record, he had some impressive wins like over Lowe of Cornell, who would go on to All-American that season. I think Samuelson will edge him out for the spot here, but Burkhart knows how to battle for a spot, considering last season was his first start in the lineup. 197, the transfer discussion of course continues with Michael Beard, the All-American from the one and only Penn State. This was probably probably one of the biggest transfers of the year, and Lehigh landed it. Beard was an All-American in 2021, but with Max Dean coming in for the Nittany Lion lineup, Beard decided to use his last 3 years of athletic eligibility somewhere else, and honestly, I could see him being a top 5 All-American at 197, which I know is a wild wait, but let me explain. His 2021 season, he for sure slipped into that All-American status, but he wrestled a great NCAA tournament as the 15 seed regardless. Then he came into 2022 looking amazing, honestly, as the backup guy, and there was several rumors he almost won the wrestle off between Dean, but that is a heavy rumor, so let's just keep moving. He smashed through the Journeyman Classic, took second at the Southern Scuffle, getting hurt in the finals against Rocky Elam, a 2-time All-American. But to be fair, Elam was winning, but that's either here nor there. He also beat Cam Caffey that tournament, who beat him in 2021, so he got revenge there. Then he would be wrestling Schultz from Nebraska super tough during the duel, but gave up some stall calls to drop that match, so clearly a way better Beard than in 2021. Once again, I can't explain how great of a transfer this is for Lehigh. Alright, now I hyped up Beard for a little long, but yes, would you imagine Lehigh has multiple options at 197, and honestly more here than at other weights with top tier guys, which probably stings considering a great transfer with 3 years of eligibility left just came in. The starter last season was JT Davis, who had an average productivity year, but unfortunately failed to qualify for the national tournament. Then there is 2 really interesting options, starting with incoming freshman Caden Rogers, who has been wrestling at a few college opens and winning matches as a high schooler. Rogers placed 4th at the U20 Open and did not compete in the trials, but placing 4th at the Open is still crazy impressive. He was a top recruit, and this might be a stretch, but I could really see him pushing Beard for the spot in the future, especially after this redshirt season that he will more than likely probably take to develop. He was a 220 at Malvern, so I really doubt he can drop to 184 in 2024 either, which would make Lehigh unstoppable up top, to be honest, but only time will tell with that situation. To wrap up the 197 guys, they got Michigan transfer and elite PA recruit from a few years ago, Gage Garcia. It is key to note that he is a football guy, so we probably won't see him till the second half of the season, and he's also never wrestled a match in college yet, so I am curious to see how his development has been coming. Then we finally make our way to heavyweight, where they will have to replace a 2-time All-American in Jordan Wood with Nate Taylor, who in my opinion is a pretty solid option. Taylor had 37 matches as a redshirt and finished 27-10, which is awesome to say the least for a redshirt. He lost to most top tier guys, but still promising as a redshirt for sure. And considering he's beating most of the guys he's supposed to beat, along with developing at Lehigh this offseason, will turn Nate Taylor into a top tier guy that all Lehigh fans want to see. Phew, that was a deep roster breakdown that I bet no one really expected, but how could I not go as in-depth at some of these weight classes? A great example is 197 with a returning starter, a Michigan transfer, and a top 100 recruit, all behind a returning All-American that is also a transfer from Penn State. Now that is a deep team right there. Most weights also have national qualifiers stacked on top of each other, which is also signs of a great team. To be honest, Lehigh's freshmen last year were pretty dang good. We just look at guys like Bailey, Seymour, and Taylor all wrestled a ton and truly developed, which is exciting for an upcoming season. But as we all know, this is a way too early lineup prediction, so who knows what will happen. What I can tell you though is if you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that like button, along with subscribing for more videos in the future. Also, feel free to comment your thoughts on Lehigh or whatever you want, honestly. Now, I hope to see you on the next one, and take care, everybody.